This video is going to show you solo Grandmaster Nightfall getting platinum rank on the Birthplace of the Vile, which is the weekly featured Grandmaster. So the reason why I haven't soloed this GM is simply because I haven't had access to the Grandmaster Nightfall. Ever since it came out day one, Conqueror, me and my team got the Conqueror Gilded day one. That's what we focused on. However, in hindsight, it's been bad for me because I haven't been able to practice in this particular Grandmaster. So this week is my first go crack at the solos. I could have got a checkpoint off somebody, and people have offered me. I know that, but I wouldn't want to, because if I wipe, I would need to ask them for it again, and you might wipe a couple of times. Some of these GM solos, you don't get them first go. This took me 4 major attempts. I wiped 4 times, 3 times at the boss major, and then on my 4th go, I got it. And there was some other mini wipes, like stupid deaths, getting killed by grenades and stuff, because you can easily be one shot by snipers and stuff. But once I learned the run, I'm in the routine of this now. So the modifiers are acute void burn. Champions are barrier, unstoppable and overload. Scorched earth, enemies throw more grenades. Empath. So notice there's no chaff. Chaff disables radar, but this time we have radar. This is great. So we actually have radar on a Grandmaster. It's fantastic. It feels great having radar. However, you take increased damage from melee. So we've got to bear that in mind in the run. So this is going to be a tick list of what I've got. I'll be talking all about it in the run because it's such a long run. So if you do watch the whole thing, or if you watch parts of it, what you need to watch, then there'll be information scattered throughout it. This is just me telling you bits and pieces of the setup. So I'm just going to literally rhyme it off. So, Gambler's Dodge, Vortex Grenade, Aspects of Trapper's Ambush, Vanishing Step. The fragments are Echo of Obscurity, Echo of Persistence, Echo of Undermining. Pairing that with the exotic armor Graviton Forfeit, which gives us improved invisibility. Weapons are exotic grenade launcher Witherhoard, a void pulse rifle. Any void pulse rifle will do you. If you don't want to use a void pulse, you can use an arc one. If you want to use a solo one, you can use whatever pulse you want. But it is buffed by void, so you may as well use a void one. I use this moon one, which I found exceptionally good. And then Royal Entry, a void rocket. If you don't have the roll that you see before you, you can't do Royal Entry. Well, you can, but it's going to be poor. I would recommend, therefore, you go with Threaded Needle. But if you do have Clown Cartridge Field Prep, or a Clown Cartridge at the very minimum on it, then you're good to go. If you can double rocket a champ with Royal Entry, because Void, but it's buffed by Void, right, you're good to go, right? If you don't have a Clown Cartridge roll at all, like a Hothead's not going to be good enough, in my opinion. You want a Void weapon, so it's either Royal Entry or Threaded Needle. You take your pick on what you go in between the two. As I said, Graviton Forfeit. Mods are Helmet, Rocket Launcher, Ammo Finder, Harmonic, Siphon, Radiant Light, Powerful Friends, Unstoppable Pulse Rifle Loader. Double Void Resist, so Void Chestplate with Font of Wisdom, Reap and Wellmaker, Rocket Launcher, Scavenger, Overload Grenades, Bomber, Loose and Finisher, with high emphasis on Strength stat and Mobility, T10 on both. It's so important that you get at least T10 Strength at the very minimum, and then back that up with a good start of mobility as well in my eyes. That's the setup that I'm using on the Hunter. So as we start the run, we'll be loaded into a public zone, miasma, the swamp area. I'm going to waste a rocket on purpose. That wasn't by accident. That wasn't a wrong button press. I'm doing that on purpose because of how the strat works. We need to make sure we've got 2 rockets loaded when we're killing champs. As you start, you'll see that there'll be some enemies spawn. Generally they do. Sometimes they don't spawn because they've already been killed. But if they've spawned in, make sure you invis past them because they will just demolish you. Okay, so you get 2 overloads here. So I've worked out how this works. How to do it easy, because you can get double overloads. To avoid from getting double overloads at the same time, don't clear the ads. So you see there's Ravengers, all the Scorn enemies, don't take any of them out. Let them aggro you, they will then de-aggro. But here's the thing, the Overload champ that spawned with them, because one champ spawns in at the start, will aggro and stay aggroed, meaning that you've isolated you and the champ just about. So we'll be invis, we'll do our grenade, Witherhoard on the floor, on the body, doesn't matter, one or the other. And double rocket, then finish to maintain heavy. Then if any ads do push, just back right up, because there's a sort of once you get back up in this cave area, so far to the exit, the ads start to back up a little bit. You'll see me use that a bit. Notice the next wave spawning in. So we're gonna use Witherhoard spawn killing capabilities. Well, not spawn killing, but you know what I mean. For trash mobs. You'll have 4 whatever these are called. I don't know what these orange bars, but they're very deadly. They basically just about one-shot you because of the modifier empath. As I said, you take increased damage from melee. It's like Blackout. If anyone remembers Blackout from the old Nightfalls, it's maybe not as bad as Blackout actually, even though it's on GM difficulty. 'Cause Blackout was a full-on one-shot, no matter what. The original Blackout. So you gotta take into account of that. So we're gonna use this mechanic, as I was saying, or this strategy of backing up into the cave, isolating us between the ads, because the ads will go to hide, but the Overlord won't, because the Overlord's keen to kill us. So I'm going to make sure that I confront him when I've got my grenade, because we're waiting on the second grenade. So I got my second grenade with a hard double rocket, finish, and then if ads do push, as I said, you can get Witherhoard on the floor, but they weren't. You saw they were all de-aggroed. You've got to master this thing of de-aggro and aggro and ads. It's like one of the top tips in GMs, knowing exactly what ads do and how you can manipulate to your benefit. So it's the wraiths. They're so tanky, these orange bars. There's some at the boss fight. I'm just glad they're not orange bars, because these orange bars are so tanky. They won't even be one shot by Witherhoard, which is kind of crazy. So we're just going to back right up. I'm waiting for Witherhoard to reload. I'm not swapping it at the right time for auto and holster. Oh well, fine. Pick up any heavy as well, recuperate. Before you go down there, take out these wraiths, because they will follow you. It's the nature of the AI. They will follow you. If you go all the way down there, they're not going to de-aggro. They'll aggro on your position. So that's that first section done. Right, so the key is just to not clear the ads until you cleared out each individually Overload. So as the ads spawn in, which they will, you can do a couple of rockets if you want, but I would do 1 or 2 Witherhoard shots behind cover, and then we fight from behind this section here. Which is actually really good. The only thing about fighting here is so you've got an ultra mini boss, Scorn mini boss, that does his tethers, making the ads immune quite often. Now you can fight him right up where the cave area is if you want, but it takes quite a long time unless you've got a good shot with Witherhoard. So I mean, you really don't need to do that. If you play safe enough, you're fine to take out all the lurkers and stuff. There's 2 raiders. So I am going to get really specific about numbers and stuff, like in terms of ads, because it's so important to know what snipers are up and how many ads you get at what phase, especially at the boss fight. You need to know everything about this. If you're going to solo it, you need to master it. And you need to master the entire thing. That's what I found, because when I done my first 1 or 2 solos, I really didn't know the ad spawns, and I was sort of messing up a little bit because of that. Maybe, you know, using certain things I shouldn't. Whereas if you know the ad spawns, you know what better to do in advance. It's as simple as that. We're going to get a finisher kill. I'm trying to separate the Unstoppable Ogre from the Ultra. So I'll do a Witherhoard, I'll do my tether, I'll just make sure I'm in mid-air so he doesn't wipe me, because if I'm standing on the floor he will wipe you out. He wipes you so fast. We'll do the tether, and that's that done. So forget what I'm doing right here. I don't know what I was thinking when I was doing it. I was trying to think there was maybe a way to get my Sparrow further on in the Nightfall. I don't know what I was thinking. Right, obviously Sparrows don't despawn now. I guess I was doing this because I was keen from doing it on Lightblade, because I was doing that a couple of times on the Lightblade, skipping the swamp area. So you don't need to do what I'm doing here. Just ignore what I'm doing. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe there might be potentially a way. Because actually, when I was doing this run, I didn't think I would get it clear, because I was quite tired and stuff. So I was just sort of more experimenting the run just to see, just to practice it, I guess. But I ended up getting the clear on this run. So Okay, so with the capture the plate section, this is plate 1. The adds here will respawn. They'll keep spawning as much as you kill. Eventually they stop spawning, right? But we're gonna capture the plate in 1. But if you don't clear any of the ads. Just get on the plate and do your invises. You will get less ad spawns that way. Therefore, a quicker clear of it. So less hassle. Don't try and optimize with Witherhoard and stuff. Just literally just invis. But here's the thing. The last place you've invised, that's where ads will look at you and fire their grenades, etc. So you notice, look at where I'm invising, the safest place you can on a block. If you invis on the ground, there might be a screed there that you have not saw, and the screed could still explode because of how Trapper's Ambush works. It's a long animation for invis. I love Trapper's Ambush. I think it's great, but the animation's just a slight too long. I would like if they could speed it up. I know invis. I know you're going to say Invis is already too powerful, but I would love if they just sped up the animation on Trapper's Ambush, like they did with the bubble, just a little bit quicker, because there's times when you'll use it and, you know, it's just a bit sluggish sometimes, especially when you're getting pushed. You know, like, it's okay behind cover, you know, but that's just a little request, because the old way of invising with the whole old smoke bomb was far better for... it was far better for consistency, but it was obviously we've got more invisibility now overall. It's just the way we do it. We've got to jump up in the air. You don't have to jump in the air. You just do one hop, but then activate. It just takes quite a while sometimes to do that. So this bit you've got a couple of orange bar raiders. Here's the thing with this. They'll push the more numbers they are. When it gets down to 2, both raiders will go to where the champions are. So it's in your best interest to try and take them all out. Or you might not be able to get all 6 down unless you start using rockets, which I don't recommend using too many unless you've got a lot of ammo. See, look, they de-aggro. So I'll try and do a bit of damage, but he's just gonna want to go to where all the other ads are. So that's going to make it a little bit more difficult when we go over there. I mean, it's not too bad. This run overall isn't too bad to get to the boss. Once you learn it, it's pretty relaxed. You've just got the plate mechanics to do. You can take things pretty slow. It's kind of like Glassware, this. With Glassware, it's a pretty slow run but when you get to the boss, everything's like really tough. For this, it's kind of like that, but obviously I don't think it's as hard as Glassware this. I don't think it's as hard as Glassware, but I do think it's more hectic because there's nowhere to stand. What I'm doing here, though, is I'm going to use 4 rockets, 2 rockets per stun, just to get that unstoppable out the way. And I might use some more rockets because I think I got some drops. And just try and take out any ads I can. I can even Witherhoard them from here. The problem is, the Overlord will put up his immunity tether, which can be a pain. And I can't shoot his tether because of the... I don't know why I can't actually. I'm getting some damage numbers. It just takes a while because I'm so far away. Make sure you have 2 rockets. Now, I sort of made a little mistake here, but you can take advantage of my mistakes and make sure you don't. Make sure that you have at least 2 rockets, because I'm not planning to tether this champ. I was never wanting to do that, because you want to use your tether for the next bit. So this champ, it might be, you know, you might want to do it. It's tempting. Right, but no, you want to do the Witherhoard double rocket finisher for this particular champ. It works out best because the champion coming up after this is a lot more difficult than this one. This one's not too bad. What made it more difficult is the raider that I said about earlier. The ones that de-aggro. Yeah, he's come over here and made my life more difficult. But we'll use Witherhoard. Stay behind pillars. Just make sure the Overlord doesn't flank behind you, which they can. They can do that. They're pretty fast. I was just having a hard time with these tethers. Sometimes it isn't like this. Sometimes it's not too bad. It's a case of we can't do a stun properly until we get all ads down. Even if it's just one ad. It's a case of that. He's finishable, so we'll do that. If he does melee you, the Overlord, he can't one-shot you. So that's good. That's a good thing. It's actually quite surprising because Empath's on. So it's actually quite surprising he doesn't. But he has meleeed me on another run and he never one-shot, so that's fine if he does that. Alright, we've got our nade, we've got some rockets. It's a double rocket. Finish your kill. And we get our rockets. That's good. I believe there's a brick or two back. So if there's any bricks from the first plate, keep hold of them, and when you need them, not keep hold of them, but just leave them, don't pick them up, and then go back for them. Ammo doesn't despawn. Actual fact, the first Scorn Ultra that we defeated, ammo will stay up there as well. The reason why is because the loading zones doesn't change. It's all one loading zone. Maybe that's a result of because these strikes are newer strikes, so it's maybe designed better than like Fallen Saber. Like Fallen Saber's just been reworked to D2. So there's a section on there I was wanting to go back for ammo and it despawned. And there's a lot of other strikes where ammo just despawns in the previous room. Some don't, some do. But this one, it doesn't, because as I said, there's not really a load. There will be a loading zone coming up, I'll assume, where ammo will eventually despawn. It'll be probably coming up, but as you can see, I can go back for ammo, and I'm stocked up, so I'm 7. I'm not in a bad spot for my ammo. So as I was saying, there's going to be an Overlord champion in the next section, and there's also going to be some chieftains, elemental shields. Now it's random. There's 2 chieftains. Sometimes it can be 1 arc, 1 solar, 1 arc, 1 void. Any combination you can think of. It doesn't seem to be double void though. They don't seem to have matching elements, not from what I've saw. But it's either, like say arc, void, whatever. But that's fine. We'll use a tether for that. We're going to tether the chieftains to override the match game modifier. So make sure you try and spawn kill a lot of these by doing a Witherhoard on the stairs. Try and get as many of them as you can, because the less you get, the worse it is for the next room. So what I'm going to do, as soon as we start, you don't want to fight from that door. It's a kill zone, no good. So we'll Trapper's Ambush, dodge, then come into the corner of this room where the Overlord spawns, Witherhoard Grenade, double rocket, finish. It is risky, but it has a high payoff if you get it. If you do end up doing it, this makes this entire room really easy. It's just a case of getting it. I mean, it's not too bad if you do wipe at this point. It's not like you've done an hour and then wiped, But if you follow the steps, there's a lower chance of dying. It's a case of if you don't know what you're doing, you probably will. You need to sort of know exactly the timing on it and stuff. We used our tether to take out the chieftains. Used a bit of rockets as well. Make sure you're using plenty of rockets. Don't be sitting on too many rockets. It's not until later on where I would recommend maybe sitting on a bit more heavy than usual. I go between 2 sort of different playstyles. I'll stock up on ammo. I'll have ammo on the floor plus full heavy, and then at other points I'll spam it. It really just depends on what's going on and what section we're at. Like right now, it's low risk stuff. As I said, getting to the boss, it's really just straightforward, especially on this class. It's when you get to the boss that's where the survivability really comes in. So this room here, if you see this room you will also be at the boss room. When you do damage to the boss and you get him down to a third or whatever, you will be teleported to this room. This room, any ammo that you get in this room will count for later on. So I recommend any rockets, any heavy, leave it. If you don't need it now, it's going to really help you out later on at the boss fight. So don't pick it up. Unless you absolutely need to, right? Witherhoard ammo, you might need that later on because I haven't got GL ammo finder on. So there is times, it's very rare, but sometimes I will run out of Witherhoard because I do absolutely spam it. So like green bricks, these are really valuable for later on in the fight, at the boss fight. So It's also teaching you the spawns. The spawns you see right now are going to be the same spawns. So there's 2 raiders here, spawn of Screebs. And then there'll be another spawn when it lights up like that. Wherever they're coming from the ceiling, whatever that mechanic is, I don't know. Another 2 raiders, be careful because they can hit you from here. So I would recommend backing up when they spawn in like that if they push up. And then just back up to this area, stops them from shooting you. This pulse rifle is really good, you'll see, just because of its high range. See, I've said this a couple of times, but I think people don't maybe listen to me with this, but high impact weapons do really well in Grandmaster content, or any content where you are underpowered, because you stagger enemies. High damage, slow firing, but they stagger enemies. So high impact hand cannons, high impact scout rifles, especially with high caliber rounds. If you've got high caliber rounds on a scout, think of like Dead Man's Tale, staggers all the adds. So high impact, obviously Dead Man's Tale is not an high impact weapon, but I'm mentioning the high caliber round part of it, if you do have that roll. But any legendary weapon with high caliber rounds. But high impact frames themselves are very good. So that's why I went with it, but I don't assume everyone to have this pulse. Last petition is also a really good bet. So what I'm doing here is stunning the champ, then going in the portal. Now I had to work this out because nobody actually Cheese Forever had made a video about it. Sorry, I had to actually go on his video to find out, because no one in solos had explained how that worked. You stun the champ, you then look where the portal is meant to be, but it won't spawn in, but it has spawned in because you've stunned the champ. You will also get platinum for it. It will count as a kill. You saw the kill crate come up. So I'd stun him with a grenade, go through the portal. Obviously just stand where the portal would be and then you'll get partied. So that's the explanation of that. However, that doesn't work at the boss fight. It only works leading up to the boss fight. So when you're at the boss fight itself, I don't believe it works. Which is fine, because we're going to get finished kills anyway. So we'll do a tether here. I hit the side of the wall, unfortunately, but I am sort of worrying a little bit about this stop, because the thing with tether, when you're high up like that, you are vulnerable, or can be. See, tether doesn't, you don't sort of have the same resistance when you're in your tether, because it's not classed as like a Roman super, so to speak. It's not like where if you pop like Striker Titan or Nova Warp, it's not the same. You are very vulnerable in the air when you're doing your tether, so you better hope your tether's staggering whatever you're shooting at. That's true at the boss. Like you could think, oh, I'll tether these bunch of ads. You jump up in the air because that's what you sort of do, and then the boss will just, a lot of ads will just pelt you in the air and then and you'll die. So you've got to pick and choose when you do your tethers. It's a very valuable super and all that, but you're very weak at that phase. We'll get a finisher kill on this champ. The first, so what I've done there is I was happy to kill one champ without finishing him. But the second champ I wanted to get a finisher kill. That's just me of managing my ammo and managing risk. Because if you try and finish both, you might overcommit and one of the others might kill you while you're finishing the other. Or an ad might. So my train of thought with this particular section is kill one of them outright, get him out of there, get the rest of the ads out of there. Then finish one of them, and then you should still, as long as you got the rocket launcher scav on, you should still have a healthy amount of ammo. Maybe not full, but almost full. So now plates, so it's the same thing. The same thing as plate 1. So this is the second plate section. The difference here is ads are infinite. So I've been led to believe, I've been told. I haven't tested this, but I would believe a lot of people, enough people have told me that for me to know that it's probably true. However, this is actually the easiest part of the whole thing. You just want to invis the plate and then run away. There's no champ. There is a major. Now, if he was a champ, you would need to kill him, but he's not. In my opinion, it's actually a good thing he's not a champ. So we're just managing our invis on the plate. Because of the echo of persistence, it makes it super easy to maintain it. If you're doing a trapper's ambush, make sure that you're jumping off the plate and do it elsewhere. Because as I said, the ads will track the last location, so they will shoot at a pillar that you've done your trapper's ambush on, but they won't shoot at the plate where you actually are. If you do Trapper's Ambush on the plate, you will get naded. And a nade will destroy you in this because of the Void Burn and its GM. So it's the biggest tip I can give. Don't just rely on your invis on the plate, invis elsewhere. So you're going to see me do it right now. Well, unless you do a vanishing step, which is fine because you maintain invis without breaking it. See, so I invised on top of a ledge, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter, right? And then we're just gonna, I'll do a vanishing step here. I've still got plenty of invis, and then skip. Rest of those ads, you don't want nothing to do with them. You don't need it. The GM's already long enough. You don't want to extend yourself any more than what you have to with it. Okay. So we'll do Witherhoard shot and then grenade. And I didn't want to use heavy. I could have used heavy because I'm going to finish him. I probably should have done, but it's fine. I guess I'm just showing you if you didn't want to use any heavy. This is just sort of how you would deal with it. Make sure all Wraiths are killed though. There's a chance a Wraith could not be killed. If so, focus the Wraith. The ads that chase you, then the unstoppable. You can only play around. This is what I call playing around with the champs. You can only do that if all the other ads are down. Right, taken out. So do I'll finish your kill. Any ammo drops you get here, you cannot come back for because you're going through the portal, which is a shame. Because I had a heavy brick or two there, so it's a shame, but it is what it is. So we go through a portal. Now this is the second room. You will also get this room at the boss fight. I'm sure you'll know. We're doing this strike in general. This is what you want to do for this room. Pick a route that you're going, left or right. Now I go left. I don't know why. I just do. It doesn't really matter. The room's identical, left or right, so it doesn't really matter. However, what you want to do is stand on this platform and wait for all the corrupted Ravengers, the stasis Ravengers to come. You need to kill all of them here. If you don't do that, they will sneak up on you while you're dealing with a champ or any of the other ads. If you're not counting how many Ravengers you've killed, like have you killed 3 or 2? Oh, I don't know if there's 2 left or 1. Oh, next thing you know, they freeze you behind. And then only that, the champion at the top can one-shot you with his snipe. So make sure all the stasis Ravengers are taken out, and it's easy to do that by letting them aggro you on that first plate, then you push up. Pick a route, left or right. I don't recommend you need to go right. Unless you want ammo off the ads from the right side, then take them if you need that. If you don't, then you don't need to bother with it at all. They won't shoot at you. Okay. If you go close, obviously they will, but they won't from this range. So there's a heavy brick back there, by the way, which is we're gonna be able to optimize that later on. And there's a green brick. I'll pick up 1, leave 1 for later for the boss fight, and then we'll invis first. Do not let that champ see you at all. Once he starts to see you, he'll start sniping, even if you're invis. So we're just gonna overload him and then look for the portal. I know the portal's not there, but you sort of stand where it is. I had to re-invis up actually. I kind of wasn't working, so it's sort of on the left-hand side. It's kind of weird how that works. The first time I saw somebody do that, I was like, "What is all that about?" And you still get plat, so take advantage of it. But just know that you can't. I don't think it works at the boss fight, which is strange. That's such a strange thing. It works there. It's the same room later on at the boss fight, but it doesn't work. So I don't know. So this section, you want to take out as many ads as you can before they get tethered. Minimize how many stalkers you have to take, because it is kind of annoying playing this game of, can you shoot the tether? Yeah, you can. Okay, shoot the tether, then quickly try and get the stalker before he gets immune again. Because the more stalkers, like if you've got 2 or 3 stalkers, it might be a problem. You're gonna have to go in there and sort of 1 or 2. I mean, I guess if there's only 1 left, you're all right, but you don't want to make it a pain, because obviously they're just going to keep doing that immunity tether. I'm just scouting the area, so that's what I sometimes do. Just make sure, double check the room. Is all the stalkers down? Because if they nade you, if 1 stalker's up and you didn't know and they nade you, you could wipe you. Their nades, because of Scorched Earth, which is a mod that's on, can absolutely matter. Not only that, we're waiting on a nade, so it really doesn't matter. I had to wait. There's a lot of waiting on nades in this run, but it's just because I haven't got an overload weapon. But you don't need one if you do it like this. So we're doing our general strat. We'll put some extra damage in because I'm not going for the finisher kill. Again, it's that risk versus reward thing. Is it worth me getting a double finish on both champs? Not really. It'll work out better for the next encounter because I'll have more rockets. But I'm risking my life too much for it. And yeah, I'm going to go invis by that finish kill. But I just don't want. I want to eliminate that risk. So that's why I'll outright kill one of them. And the second one will finish him because he's isolated, and that's my biggest thing with these champs, especially when there's double of them. So what I'm doing is farming up a grenade. So I've got a solar cape on. I highly recommend you run a solar cape with this. Bomber is a mod. When you've got a really bad discipline setup on hunter, which I feel a lot of hunters have this season, because you want to optimize recovery, strength, mobility. You know, there's not a lot of quad 100 builds out there for the hunter. If it is, it's because they're utilising certain mods, etc. You know, and running a perfect stasis setup. We're not running stasis, so we can't have all that extra stats that you get from all the fragments. So that's where the bomber comes in, just to assist us with having a little bit more grenade energy, you know, when we need it. So we're max on heavy, no, well not quite, no extra bricks on the floor. So that's, if you do have an extra brick on the floor, that's fantastic. But if you don't, I tethered too soon here. Make sure that you don't tether as soon. My tether didn't work properly. So the biggest tip with that is let the ads come in a little better. I mean, it did do a little bit, but that was more the rockets itself. So the tether, if you do a tether and 2 rockets, you would just about kill that major. There's 2 ultras, 2 orange bar captains, a couple of stalkers that has to be accounted for because they do the void nades, and then the shield guys, but they're at the back of the map. These captains you need to take down. One will push, the other one don't believe pushes until most of the ads are taken out, I think. Unless the first captain, the void captain, is being killed. Anytime you see a void nade, you back up. You literally can't take much tick damage. Like, you could maybe take 1 or 2 ticks. I'm talking like half a second, maybe not even that, of the nade, and you've got to really back out. You've got to prioritize enemy grenades when they do come at you, especially in this. So that's why you stop what you're doing, stop shooting the enemy, and just back right up. Let the nade dissipate, because it will go quick. So we've also got 2 unstoppables, 1 ultra left. So what I'm doing again here is, because I am going to get some heavy, and I'm also going to get a finisher kill on one of the champs. So I'm going to be happy to outright kill one of the unstoppables from a distance like this, because I can't, because of my rocket. I've got 2 rockets left, so I'm going to do that, because it can be quite dangerous once you push up, because these unstoppables, they have a really good range. Their hands will glow arc. This is something that you won't take note of when you're playing strikes. But these little details, so Bungie put a lot of time into like visual and audio cues, but they don't tell anyone about it really. So you only really the players who study PvE will actually know all this stuff. You know, little things. But once you see that ogre's hands start to glow, you need to back up. Now there's 2 sets of pillars. There's a pillar in front of me, like right in front of me, 2 meters, and then there's another couple of pillars. Once you go past that pillar that's in front of me, that's when the ogre, especially one of them, will start to attack you, and he can 2-shot you so fast, which happened on one of my failures. So that's why I'm happy to melt one of them. I end up doing it in a minute. I'm just trying to do some damage to this ultra, because his solar attack can melt you. I actually, on a different run, had this guy as arc. So these ultras can have different weapons, which is interesting. I've seen them use arc, and I've seen them use the solar. I don't know if there's void for this, but the solar isn't too bad. If you get a hit, directly hit, that's where it's quite bad. So just be cautious of when you're dealing with that. Okay. We're going to clear this last unstoppable, so that means we've isolated us and the champ. Just check before you go though that all the lurkers or the shielded enemies, because it's shielded enemies, are taken out. We're low on Witherhoard, so I'll go and get some bricks. I remembered there was some green ammo, so I'll go for that, because Witherhoard is very important. Because we're not going to be clearing this champ, obviously, with rockets. We're not going to use our super either, because I haven't got the patience to wait for it again, as I want to use it on phase 1 of the boss. So as I say, most of this has been chill until when we get to the boss. That's where the real what most people are going to want to know about how to do this. So all the ads are taken out. I'm just checking my radar. I'm so happy that I've actually got a radar to check. Most Grandmaster Nightfalls don't have it. They have chaff on. It's very interesting that this one has enhanced the empath or whatever. But what I'm going to do here is just keep stunning the champ, but I'm not going to reveal myself. Once the champ regains his composure, you need to strafe into cover. It will stop him from chasing you. So let Witherhoard do the work. So Witherhoard's doing the work for me. And I'll only peek when I can get a stun. Right? So that's how I'm safely doing it, so that there's no RNG, no thing where he's nearly killing me. I don't want any of that to happen. And the way to do that is just stun him, do Witherhoard, straight back into cover when the unstoppable is unstunned, when he's not stunned anymore. Fill up on your ammo. We're going to farm a grenade by using our class, our dodge. Because we need a nade, because obviously there's going to be... So there's only 3 champions at the boss. But they are quite a pain to deal with because of how the boss room itself is. It's sort of the environment, how the boss reacts. Because the boss is a melee type boss, kind of. He's a hybrid, sort of like Lightblade, but just nowhere near as bad. Because his stomp is vicious. He has a really huge stomp radius, and he can run around the map. There's certain parts of the map where he doesn't really go so much, like right in the center. But there's certain parts that he does. I'll explain as best as I can as we go along. So, we'll start it up. We're going to do Witherhoard shot, a grenade as the overload spawns in, and then spam our tether. We'll even put an extra rocket in. To be honest, I can't even see if the overload was killed as it was happening until I got the credit, but I spammed a rocket anyways. Mainly because there's so much void on your screen. So I just done a rocket as well, just to confirm the kill, because sometimes the tether doesn't kill these champs. I don't know what it is. Maybe sometimes if it's not a direct hit, like both tethers, the Mobius quiver isn't a direct hit. Sometimes that can happen. So I just done a rocket as well, and if it wasted it, I'm not really fussed. I was just super happy that I got the overload down. If you do that little optimization right there, it makes phase 1 more of a breeze. It makes it easier than what it is. So to explain how the boss fight works, so obviously we took down the overload. There isn't unlimited adds here. When it first came out I thought there was, but there isn't. The adds the waves of adds that just keep spawning. But I think it might be 7 or 8 waves. I don't know how many waves it is, because I didn't want to bother to count all that up or watch somebody's run to count all that up. I wasn't too fussed. Because on the run itself, you're just going to be vigilant anyways. You're just going to keep clearing those adds until they stop. And I'm not going to actively count that what wave I'm on during the run, because things are too stressful to remember. It's like, am I on phase 6? Am I on phase 7? Who cares? Just clear the adds. That is the thing. You need to focus on where the boss is at all times, stuff like that. Because as I said, if he gets within like a 2-3 meter radius, he can stomp and one-shot you no matter what, and you won't survive it. I don't even think concussive dampener would, and the reason being is because it's empath. But bosses one-shot you anyways when they melee, most of the time. So the biggest thing is map rotation, cycle in between the room. What you want to do is focus all the ad waves. I wouldn't even bother with the boss. You could maybe Witherhoard the boss every now and then, because Witherhoard does its own thing. You know, once you stick the boss, it'll do the damage. So you can do that every now and then, but focus staying alive. On this first phase, it's the Solar Ravengers and a bunch of Stalkers. Now the Stalkers throw grenades. This is the adds on this phase. On phase 2 are different. So luckily there's no Stalkers on the other phases because the Stalkers throw nades, which can catch you off guard. There's a couple of times they trap me with nades. I'm going one path, they throw a nade right in front of me, and I have to take another route. But as I say, on phase 2 there's no Stalkers. Phase 3 there isn't. The Ravengers aren't too bad. It's more the stasis ones that are a pain, but that's not till phase 3. The boss can obviously go do his invis move. I don't know if it's not invis, but whatever it is. It's kind of broken because the boss can be immune during this, and if you cycle between left and right of the boss room, which you're gonna do, aren't you? He's gonna be immune for all that, which it can be quite a pain. He also does his he puts down tether points, right? Now that time he didn't. You saw he'd done it, and it didn't even spawn in there. So I was actually experiencing a couple of bugs today with this particular Grandmaster. So just a case of just be careful. And it adds teleporting is a thing. It didn't happen to me, thankfully, on this run, but it can do easily. If a melee type ad teleports on top of you and melees you, it's game over. So we used our tether there for damage because you're going to get plenty of tether. So anytime it's just you and the boss, which it will be for now because we took out all the ads. See, generally with strikes, the ads are dictated by how much damage you do to the boss. But with this one, it's interesting because it's not dictated by HP of the boss. It's dictated by a constant wave of ads. It's that feeling of like Hollowed Layer. Hollowed Layer was this, well, it was different, but Hollowed Layer had waves and waves of ads coming at you. So they wanted to do the same feel with this because it's Scorn type enemies, right? It's good, but my issue with this room is it's too small. I don't know why we're making all the strike rooms, like, it's my biggest complaint. Why are all the strike rooms so small, the boss rooms? Proving Grounds is an example of it. This is an example of it. Lightblade's actually quite big. I'll give it its due, but that fight, the whole way that's designed is that you're meant to map rotate. The boss is meant to chase you, etc. So that makes sense. However, Lightblade it's been shipped too different. It's shipped buggy, and the boss is too powerful. He's got range attack and a melee attack that's deadly, and so they've shipped it too difficult, I think. The boss himself, the champions are fine and all that stuff. The whole thing about Lightblade's fine, just the boss himself. This one, as you can see, the boss isn't as bad, it's manageable, but it's the room itself. It's too small. That's why we're on Nightstalker. If you're a type of player that's going to do this on a Titan, on a Warlock, you're a better man than me, because I can't be on with it. Just because you'd have to sort of play super high attention to the boss. It's doable. I would say someone has done it. I haven't actually looked it up, but there's not. I've noticed there's not many people doing the Birthplace solos, and there's an obvious reason for that. It's because you haven't used Nightstalker. But it's not the player's fault why we're using the Nightstalker. It's because they're condensing us into these small boss rooms. Right? I've been at this for ages. Like, take Armsdealer for one. I know Armsdealer is a very cheesy GM, or strike in general, because you can cheese it. But imagine the cheese didn't exist, and imagine that boss had a lot more HP. Look at the arena of the boss room. Well, it's not a room, but it's outside, isn't it? It's very big. There's a lot of places to hide, a lot of places to map rotate. It makes sense. Now, that strike would come out in 2017. You have Pyramidion, very well designed. Savathun Song, very well designed. We're 2022 now, and the strikes are going backwards. they're going backwards. This strike, I really like it, but the boss room isn't on because it makes no sense to where you can stand. Like, then if GMs are going to be the way they are for the next couple of years, they need to start making the strike around the GM, not the other way around. If that's the way it's going to be, because people aren't playing them. People are looking forward to the GMs because people enjoy them. But people are gravitating, like especially solo-wise, to Nightstalker all the time. And it's just a case of because there's literally nowhere to stand. There's no method to that. There's no rhythm to it. I'll give you another example. So Garden World. Garden World was very good, well designed at the boss room because the cover would rotate in and out. It would go invis and then go to another bit of cover. So you needed to know exactly, if you didn't cheese it, that is. You needed to know exactly where to stand, etc. If you actually doing it legit, it was actually a very good boss fight. See, I'm into boss fights. I like a well-designed. If the boss fight's well-designed, I'm happy with the strike, for the most part. Glassware is very well-designed. There's so many places to stand, right? You can get flanked by the enemies. It's like nearly one of them. It's like a perfect strike almost, Glassware. There's some things, I guess, about it that's not, but it's one of the best design strikes they've done. But as for, like, you know, the recent ones, I think we're going backwards with the strike design. But anyways, we're gonna finish a kill on him, pick up any ammo, and we've also got a super for the next phase as well. So, and we can wait out a grenade if we want. If it's the case that you don't have your super or any abilities that you want, you can wait out as much time as you want until you get through the portal. So we just go through the portal. I'm not going to wait on my nade because this phase 2 is unstoppable. So I'll do a tether on one of the spawn locations. To be honest with you, the unstoppable can spawn random. There's always 2 spawns as you go in, but I'm not like there's no consistency with which section the champion spawns every time. So I just used my tether on the ads in general because there's a champion that spawns and also a standard spawn ogre, an abomination. So if you could take out the abomination, that would help out at the very least because it's quite dangerous. I think we did. So I don't see the abomination up. So it's just the champion. Now, with this, you don't want to rush it. I would just gradually do some damage to the unstoppable every time you get a chance on doing so. So one thing I haven't mentioned about the Graviton. So obviously the Graviton is pretty much one-to-one invis. It's unlimited invis, and it's the best invisibility setup in the game for just invis itself. That doesn't mean to say it's the best build always. Sometimes Omniocus is better, sometimes 6 Character could be better. But when you need a long time invis and you need it for like constantly, then the Graviton is the best because there's not a lot you need to do with it. But there's a secret perk with Graviton Forfeit. The more ads that are surrounded by you, the more recharge rate you get on your smoke, on your trapper's ambush. So if you were to just use your trapper's ambush behind cover where there's no ads, you won't get your smoke when your invisibility runs out. You'll be close to it, but you won't quite get it unless you do a dodge, and then you will obviously. So sometimes you'll see I'll stand close to the ads while I'm invis to get that increased recharge rate. It's a case of you just need to check that. We'll do a Witherhoard and a Grenade there to take out a bunch of ads. Obviously I'll do that as much as possible. The Unstoppable's on his own for the most part at the minute, but there's the next wave spawning in, so I missed my opportunity to do some damage. That's fine. We'll do another rocket here though. Whenever you're going to do something like that and commit to damage, just make sure that you've got a trapper's ambush, or I'll just call it smoke for the rest of the video, I guess. Just make sure you've got a smoke or a dodge to then, go in straight away, because you'll be aggroed as soon as you do all that damage. The boss will zone in on you, Any melee adds especially, because they can all one-shot you. This is obviously why the invis is pretty much required. For like, you know, a consistent solo on it. Any wraiths as well. The wraiths are a priority. So for phase 2 you got wraiths, a couple of shielded enemies. That's the rotation. So this phase is probably, because Witherhoard will one shot. Once you stick a wraith, it's dead. Right, once you've invised and run away. So this phase is probably the easiest, and also the unstoppable isn't too bad, because the unstoppable doesn't put any tethers up. So you can, as I said, take the unstoppable at your own leisure, but just keep an eye. Like if you're on the opposite side of the room and the unstoppable can get a clean shot on you and you're not invis or you're not next to a pillar, he could quickly kill you. So just don't take it for granted how easy this phase is. You could still wipe very easy with the wrong position, and you could die pretty fast. Another thing is, try and do your smoke behind pillars. Don't do it, you know, sort of in the center. You don't see me playing in the center very much, and there's a reason for that. Like, I won't smoke in the center. I will go in the center when I'm invis, but obviously not for too long. Also, when you're rotating between left and right, the boss can zone over to your side very fast without you noticing sometimes. So always stand behind one of these boxes. Always stand behind cover, because he doesn't come round the boss. See, that's the thing. He has pattern where he won't, like on Lightblade, that boss will go anywhere on that map. Yeah, this boss won't go anywhere on the map. He sort of keeps to like a certain path. He won't come behind cover so much, at least. He won't push at you and try and melee you. However, if you're close to him and he does do his stomp, as I said, it'll end your run. So you don't want that happening. See, here's the thing though. Some people might want to do a gambler's dodge next to the boss to get that smoke back, especially when it's just you and the boss. But there's a danger of him stomping you. So if you do that, you can actually dodge left, right, back, forward, whatever. Dodge backwards. So at least you're not dodging into the boss, you're dodging away from the boss, so you're less likely to get stomped from him. Because as I said, it's a good range. I used my tether here just to get rid of some of these wraiths. I recommend you do that at any point. Whenever you see there's a point where there's too many ads pushing you, or you know, you just want to use a server, just use it. Go ahead and use it. It's worth doing. There's some lurkers still up, so we'll do what I generally do is do Witherhoard first, then your trappers. Don't do Witherhoard mid-invis, because you'll break your invisibility. Shooting your gun will, so make sure you don't do that. Try and count how many ads are left alive as well. Like I can see 2 wraiths minimum right here, 2 lurkers, so I know that there's more than 1 wraith. So you know, just little things like that. You need to pay keen eye attention to all ads that are alive, you know, and the boss. The boss isn't as aggressive. When the ads are alive, the boss doesn't push. He does push, but he's not as aggressive. The boss seems to be worse when it's just you and him. See, what the boss will want to do when the ads are alive, his AI slightly changes. He'll want to do his shield and his immunity tether to shield all the enemies. That's what he's wanting to do. But when it's just you and the boss, he will still do that, but he'll also push you a lot harder. So, as you can see, there's no more waves, I don't believe. There's 1 ad alive, which we do need to take before we start properly dealing with the boss. We've also just used our super and we've just about got it back. So as you can see, it's worth using supers. Just be spamming your tether as much as possible. apart from when you enter the room, make sure you've got a super for each time that you go out of the room and then back in. That's a key critical moment. But other than that, any other time, be using your super for damage on the boss, because the boss is really tanky. Even even when you're spamming like Witherhoard and stuff, he takes a lot to take him down. You can fight like this on one side as well. Like I say, he won't push up, but he can stomp even when you're behind a box, and it can count as you dying as well. I've seen that. So try to keep keen eye on him. If you're standing quite close to the box on the other side, don't stand too close to the box on your side, on the crate or whatever it is, whatever this is meant to be. Like I say, I like the boss. I like the way he works. I just don't like it, as I said, from what I was saying earlier, because obviously not much is going on right now, is this idea of they want the strikes to be sort of exhilarating, that it's more of a chase and that you're always getting chased by ads and stuff. That's fine, but they're doing that theme for all of the strikes now. And not only that, there's immunity gates. You can see obviously the boss is immune at phase 3, 1, 2, 3. Like, whatever happened to just having a boss with a HP bar and you can one phase him, but you get punished, right? So in D1 you would get punished if you'd done too much damage to a boss, half HP, and couldn't finish him. You would have all the waves of the ads come out, all the waves that were meant to come out. So the wave at 10% comes out, the wave at 20% comes out, and so on and so forth. Next thing you know, you're overwhelmed and you die. Right, because you've done too much damage. But keen-eyed players could one-cycle bosses if they were an expert on mechanics. That stuff's gone now. You can't do that anymore, and that's one thing I'm not a huge fan on. Is too many immunity gates. I don't mind some bosses having it, but every boss has this strict formula now. It's a free phase for every boss, so every boss is the same damage-wise. That's another thing I think we've went back on. In strike design, because I know it just strikes, but think about it, the better the strike is, the better the GM is, and say what you want, but GMs, they're getting played more than what raids are for endgame, because they're giving you an endgame feeling sort of thing when you're doing them, because you're getting hit hard. Outside of day one, the raid is just the raid, isn't it? You know, it's just mechanics. You know, obviously it's very good day one and stuff, but outside of the day one, there's no contest. It's just master, and if you're at power 1590, or sorry 1580, because they actually nerfed the power, then it's just the raid, isn't it? You just go in there with the team, do the mechanics, that's it. So they're not getting, some players aren't getting the same feeling from the GMs as they are from the raids. So we're in this room that I was on about earlier. So I'm low on Witherhoard. I'm going to use a couple here. I might actually shoot some ads to the right, just for ammo purposes if I need. Because I was saying obviously earlier, you take a route left or right. I went left, but I might actually do with some of the ads. I'm getting plenty of heavy, just not Witherhoard, and Witherhoard is very important. I need a couple of shots, more than 3. At the very least, especially when we're on the final phase. So the final champion will be an Overload. So it's Overload phase 1, Unstoppable phase 2, Overload phase 3, and the ads are different. This is, my opinion, the hardest phase, because you can't really stop too long, because the Stasis Ravengers have that range stasis attack where they can just freeze you, and if they catch you with one freeze, it's over, because then you just get melee to death. So you've got to really be vigilant on phase 3. It's a must to do that. You'll also get a Overload, but also avoid major. I'm just glad it wasn't 2 Overloads. That would be just too much, having 2 Overloads on a phase. But it is just to avoid major. But the thing about it though, a chieftain, they can put the tethers up, so you've actually got 3 enemies. When you go back in the boss room, you've got 3 enemies up. The boss can put a tether up, the Overload and the chieftain. So it's a bit of a nightmare, the phase 3. It's where you've really got to play your life, play it slow. Like If you're not getting the Witherhoard kills you want, that's fine. Just take it one at a time. If it has to be that, then it is that. But don't expose yourself and overcommit damage to the Overlord if there's too many adds alive. And that's where you'll die. That's where you'll see that people dying. I'm going to spam a couple of rockets here because I've got plenty of rockets on the floor. And we're going to get a finished kill in a minute. And I wasted a rocket because we need 2 rockets loaded. You'll see me be wasteful with this rocket, but I can be because it's got field prep. And field prep stacks with rocket launcher ammo finder and rocket launcher scavenger. So all of it synergizes. It's like a rocket. It's like having heavyweight on. You get increased ammo drops. It's probably my most used rocket launcher. And I don't see that changing for quite a bit. But for at least this type of play style. You know, if you're playing raid, then lasting impression is the better choice. But lasting impression isn't a good perk for Nightfalls. Because you're not fighting raid bosses with high HP, so to speak. You need burst damage. Especially solo, you need the burst damage. So think about it, 2 rockets is better than 1 lasting impression rocket. That's what I try and explain to people. They don't seem to grasp the idea of this. This game has burst damage and has total damage. You need to pick between what you need for what you're doing. So in a raid, you want, you know, if it's a long damage window, right, then you need the total damage. If it's a short damage window, you need burst damage. So a champion, when you stun a champion, it is burst damage that is needed. Therefore, burst damage is better for the solo player. For team play, you can make anything work because there's 3 of you. But when you solo, you really need to grind down to the itty-bitty details and exactly what you need. That's what I was saying. If you haven't got this rocket, don't bother using it. Use threaded needle or use osteo. You can use osteo. I mean, it'll still do a sort of similar job to Witherhoard, but not as good, I don't think, in my eyes. But you will have a weapon to stun a champ, the Overlords at the very least. So I think either using osteo or Witherhoard is your best bet. Those are the 2 exotics. I'm just waiting on my grenade. I'm full on Witherhoard. I'm full on heavy. I've got my super, and I'm a grenade. I'm just going to see, because if I do get an opportunity to take the Overlord, I'll use it. But I didn't. Unfortunately, all the ads spawned right, so I couldn't do any spawn killing. But that's fine. If I had the option there, if the ads did spawn at the accessible point, but they didn't. That's fine though. That's okay. The boss there was just actually, it was close to me when my invis was running out, so I'll just rotate around. Sometimes he can be weird and come right next to you. You've just got to honestly be vigilant about it. So this is what I was on about before. You've got 3 targets doing tethers, so you've really got to start using a bit of rockets. This is why I haven't spammed rockets, if you notice, so much at the boss, because on phase 3 you do need plenty. I think it's like to be safe, because it's kind of nice just to sort of, after your invis, rocket something, then invis straight away, and then you've got your damage in, and then you've got out, and that's the main thing. But what I noticed on this phase is ads kept spawning despite me not killing any ads. So I was a little worried. I didn't understand why that was, because on the last phase 1, phase 2, the ads would the next phase of ads wouldn't spawn until I killed the first phase. But the ads just kept spawning, so I was a little worried if the room was going to get a little overwhelming for me. So I was obviously paying more attention to my invis timers and playing my life. Like I'm into like a minute detail. So like if I'm just lost my invis and there's a Ravager or something next to me and I want to Witherhoard him, I'll Witherhoard him and then invis straight away, no matter what. But also be making decisions via your radar. Like people think radar's just a PvP thing. It totally isn't. You use it in PvE. So at all times I'm checking the radar to see if there's ads teleport behind me, because we know that ads teleport. So an ad could teleport behind me. I would know that though by the radar. But if that does happen, I'm probably dead anyways. But that's just something that I'm actually actively checking right now as we're doing it. So as long as there's no red on my radar behind me, I'm happy-ish. Now notice I took out the overload. I used my tether, so it did work. Grenade tether. I think there's still a void target up. I think he is. So now we've got just two targets. A chieftain. I think the chieftain's still up, and then the boss that does the tethers. Here's the thing about the tethers though, they run out. If you're just invis constantly, eventually the tether will have a timer where it runs out. So you don't always need to shoot them down. Sometimes it's better not to. It just depends if you're playing your life. It depends how many ads are alive, all that stuff. Ads to my left, notice. So I invis straight away. So check on my radar. There's a chieftain here. This is the next target I need to take out, because he is a pain. So we'll just try and get him with a rocket. There's a lot of ads in the way, which is a pain. Boss pushes immediately. That's what I was saying. Anytime you do a little bit of burst damage like that, all the ads collapse on you immediately. Like, how would it be feasible for most players to do this on a Titan or a Warlock? Like, solo-wise. I don't understand who is playtesting it. I don't mean to rant in the video, but who's playtesting this at Bungie? Who's playtesting solo GMs? I would love to know it. And not to call them out, but just to... They must be amazing at the game. They must have playtested Hunter, Titan, Warlock. They must have tried Sunbreaker, right? With Solo 3.0. Oh, this is good. Like, they must be amazing at it. Because I'm being sarcastic, because I don't think they are doing that. I don't think they're playtesting it to that degree. Because they haven't got the players at Bungie. If you ever watch their stuff, whenever they're showcasing a game, they're doing a dungeon stream or a raid stream, they don't tend to put the absolute best players on there. Like, they're not to the same pedigree of some of these guys on YouTube and Twitch that are soloing. You know, they're doing Trials 1v3, they're doing all the solo GMs day one. They're not to the same degree of level as them players. So I don't know why they don't just ask some of those players to playtest some of their stuff. That would be the smart thing to do, but they don't seem to be. They invite them in, right, before a new expansion, but they're not having them playtest stuff. And the best players to playtest stuff would be the players. You'll know all the names that I'm referring to. Ask those players to playtest, and they'll give you an accurate thing of what they need to do about content before they release it. All these strikes that they're making. Like, this strike's really good. It's a shame. The boss fight. The room, it's too small. Like, I feel like he's beating a dead horse with it. Why is it so small, the room? You know, there's hunters, there's titans and warlocks. You can't just cater the game to hunters. It's not fair on other people. They want to solo it on other things. I mean, a team run, as I say, it's completely different. Team-wise, you coordinate your team. You know, the whole run itself makes more sense. But solo-wise, this room doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, they don't want us soloing stuff. They don't want us They do want us soloing stuff, but not GMs. They're not designed. GMs weren't even designed to be. They were actually designed initially to be a one-time thing. You do it. That's why there's revives and stuff like that, because they know you're going to die. That's part of the mechanic of it. That's why everything hits so hard. So these aren't designed to be soloed, but it's carrying views and stuff for them. Because when people solo them, people watch. People want to know how you can solo it and stuff. So they need to go back to the drawing board with it, in my eyes. The only reason why I'm talking about some other stuff is just because the run's so long, and there's only so much I can really tell you about this fight. I've pretty much told you everything you need to know. I'm on the last couple of phases now of ads. It is the stasis ravengers, you can see. So you can't mess around with them, as I say. 'Cause if you get frozen by any of them, that's game over. So you don't want that. I'm going to do some Witherhoard damage to the boss. I was just thinking, technically, you could just Witherhoard the boss and clear the boss without having to clear the ads. And just finish him off that way. I could have absolutely done that, but I just wanted to confirm the run. So the run, as I say, it's not a fast run. Definitely not optimized. You could do this run in 50 minutes. 50, 55 minutes, an optimized run. But I'm not going to really sit here and optimise it. I'll go for the completion for people to see it. And then I'll move on with some other stuff. Obviously there's the Guardian Games stuff to do. There's the high points, which I like. They just need to put strike scoring in the game, right? Put it in Vanguard playlist and we'll start playing the Vanguard playlist, like properly. You know, forget about your 100k pinnacle score, all that stuff, get rid of that. Incorporate strike medals to pinnacles, you're sorted. People are going to love doing that, not just pinnacles but lots of things. Link ornaments to medals, you've got to earn this medal 50 times and you get the ornament for the new pinnacle. Like all these ideas, they're pretty straightforward, simple. That's what they need to do with it, because strike scoring's very good. It's shown that in Guardian Games. That's the main thing I've enjoyed in it. The only thing I haven't enjoyed in it obviously is people chasing it, but there was always going to be a chase come out, because there always is. When it's anything to do with score, there's always been an exploit, and there always kind of will be. If it's not the angel medals, it'd be something else. If it's not that, then it's this. There's always something out there, and it's the player, you can't beat them. Some players you just can't beat. Well, the last final ad here. Now it's just me and the boss. I've got lots of rockets, so I'm just going to spam them. I might miss a couple just because he's... I don't know what he was doing there. It looked like he was bugging out, so I just went invis, because this boss can teleport also on top of you. I've seen that happen. So as soon as I see anything dodgy, just invis. And we'll re-invis up. I don't want, as I say, anything silly happening at this point when we're at the 1 hour 7 mark. That's all it is. Just waiting for our point where he stops, because eventually he does. He's literally 10% at this point. The last thing you would want is the boss killing you like on this phase. That's why I'm not going anywhere near it. I'm not getting any Gambler's Dodge. Don't use Gambler's Dodge on him. It's not worth it, because you don't need unlimited invis right now. You're just doing damage to him. So don't, obviously use your invis, but don't go anywhere near him, just in case he does that stomp. Witherhoard stuck to him. He's just about one shot. But anyways, that was a solo GM for Birthplace of the Vile. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.